The crypto market is in a very interesting place at the moment. We have some of the most bullish news and catalysts coming out. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is still struggling to break above the 100K level. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most important news in this industry. We'll also be taking a look at the charts, and I'll also talk about one specific altcoin that has outperformed during this bearishness for Bitcoin. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. So first of all, it's no surprise that it has been a very red week for most of the crypto market thus far. On the day, though, we can see a little bit more momentum as altcoins saw a little bit of a bounce now that Bitcoin has consolidated since that move down. That being said, on the week, it's still not looking that positive, but there are a few outperformers, and I'll address one later on in the video. If we take a look at the Bitcoin chart, what we're looking for here is for Bitcoin to move higher and break above $100,000, hold it as support so we can hopefully go ahead and make another attempt at the range high, which is $106,000. If you've been subscribed to the channel, you know that we've been looking at all of the attempts for Bitcoin to break the 106K level, hold it as support before moving on higher. We ended up having something like 8 attempts before we came crashing right back down to the bottom of this range. Now, Bitcoin has been consolidating in this 90 to 106K range for quite some time, actually since mid-November, and right now it's decision time, which will likely determine the rest of the market. If we take a look at Bitcoin compared to gold, I wanted to bring this chart up because we're seeing that gold is putting in new all-time highs. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky one because typically when gold starts putting in new all-time high after new all-time high after new all-time high, that usually means it's a risk-off signal, and these smarter investors are flocking to gold as they seek some kind of security in this market. And typically when the market is uncertain, people flock to stores of value like gold and like potentially Bitcoin. The way I see it, Bitcoin is the gold of the 21st century, and it should be seen as a store of value, although right now it's still classified as a risk-on asset. What I mean by this is, if the stock market goes down, that will likely affect Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto industry. But what's interesting here is that we can see actually since 2017, Bitcoin has been heavily correlated to gold. As we can see on these gold uptrends, which is the above line, Bitcoin is in a significant uptrend as well. Then when we have the Bitcoin bear markets, gold hasn't been performing that well. So they seem to be very closely correlated. With gold putting in a new all-time high, does this mean that the gold of the 21st century, Bitcoin, will be putting in a new all-time high? Well, it's a little bit trickier than that. This week we have the job data coming out, and if it remains relatively stable, Bitcoin will likely move on to its next level past $106,000. But if the data isn't so favorable, it's likely that Bitcoin could move lower before its next leg higher. Now keep in mind, these are all short to medium term price movements, which can provide excellent opportunities to trade. So if you want to trade the Bitcoin price action, I would highly recommend that you click the first link in my description. It will bring you directly to Wicks, which is one of the top exchanges in the industry. I personally use it for all of my trades. The link will bring you to this landing page, and if you sign up with my link, you'll get a $20,000 bonus, and you also get 50% off all of your trading fees. So far looking at the stock market, it seems like we are still climbing up that wall of worry. And if we continue to put in new all-time highs in the stock market, it's likely going to be the same for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto industry. Now, one thing that we need to consider here is, will Ethereum fill that massive wick? The reason I bring this up is because usually when we have a massive wick like that, we at least fill 50% of that wick. And 50% of that wick would put Ethereum right around $2,500. So this is something you definitely need to consider if you're trading Ethereum on Wicks. But man, is there some bullish news for the industry. First of all, the FTX Recovery Trust anticipates commencing the distributions to creditors, so the payouts will be starting for users that were holding under $50,000 on FTX, which is very positive news. It should start on February 18th. Also, we can see that the government officially launched their crypto task force webpage. If you ask me, this is pretty epic. I never thought I would have seen a crypto task force page for the US government. And we can see here, you can even communicate with them. You can request a meeting, and they also have their official contact email, crypto@sec.gov. I've been in this industry since 2018, and I would have never thought this would have happened. In the immediate term, it likely has no impact, but this is very bullish long-term for crypto. We have the US government involved, and they're here to stay. Speaking of the government, let's hear what President Trump's crypto czar, David Sachs, had to say when it came to evaluating a Bitcoin reserve.
So one of the things that the president instructed us to do was to evaluate the idea for a Bitcoin reserve, and so that is one of the things. That's one of the first things we're going to look at as part of the internal working group in the administration. So as soon as we get all that set up, we're still waiting for some cabinet secretaries who are on the working group to get confirmed. So we're still in the very early stages of this. But that's one of the first things we're gonna look at is the feasibility of a Bitcoin reserve. I think the concept of the sovereign wealth fund is a little separate, and you'd have to talk to Secretary Lutnick, or soon to be Secretary Lutnick, about that.
Pretty bullish if you ask me. They're going to be evaluating the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and they're also talking about the sovereign wealth fund. Now, the interesting thing here is that the market tries to price in these press conferences all the time. And what we see is just because he didn't say, yes, we're having a strategic Bitcoin reserve immediately, we can see that the price of Bitcoin just tanked quite fast. It's silly, but this cycle more than ever, everyone's just trying to front run any kind of positive news, because you can rest assured that if they are to actually announce a strategic Bitcoin reserve, which in my opinion will likely come this year, maybe later in the year, the price of Bitcoin will skyrocket thanks to that news. But right now, people just want to get in beforehand. And naturally, when the discussion is a little bit less exciting, we can see that Bitcoin retraces this entire move. Now, something else that a lot of you might think is very bullish is the fact that the SEC are actually scaling back its crypto enforcement unit. So a unit of 50 lawyers and staff that have been dedicated to bringing enforcement actions against crypto are being reassigned, according to just published NYT article. That's huge news, because typically these guys were actually attacking crypto and doing no good for it. But you might argue that this also opens up the possibility for more crime in the crypto industry now that we're not going to get as much enforcement. Okay, so that covers the news quickly. Now, the altcoin that I have been looking at that's been holding up extremely well during this dump has been over here in the bottom right corner, Hype. Now, if you didn't know and you've been living under a rock, essentially Hyperliquid is supposed to be a super efficient blockchain, and they market themselves as the blockchain to house all finance. Now, the interesting thing here is it's not just a pretty website, but it's also a decentralized exchange. And if you actually look at their stats, which are very impressive, I'll show you 1 second. We can see that they've had over $21 billion in deposits all time since launching, and they actually only launched at the end of November last year. Now look at these stats. Already almost 350,000 users, over $800 billion in total volume, and yes, they've been processing their withdrawals, which is always a concern in the crypto industry, $19 billion worth of withdrawals. This is huge because decentralized trading will only increase, in my opinion, as we continue to move on forward. It seems like this is the way to go, especially with what we've seen with Jupiter and the Phantom Wallet. A lot of people have been trading in the trenches. As we've been seeing, more and more people this cycle have been trading with decentralized exchanges. Now, as it pertains to the Hype token, we can see that over the course of this week, it's actually up 16%. Remember the concept I've been talking about. You always want to measure your cryptocurrencies against Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is seeing drawdown and your cryptocurrency is still performing, especially with a large market cap like $9 billion, it's a very good sign. So I'm personally already trading and accumulating Hype at these levels. If you want to trade Hype, make sure to sign up to Wicks. It's the first link in my description. You can leverage trade it, and you can also buy on spot. With my link, you get that $20,000 bonus, and you also get 50% off all of your trading fees. And that sums up today's quick video. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I'll see you in tomorrow's video.